Hello and welcome, I'm Andy Richmond and thank you for joining us for our look at the Houston Texans visit to the so far unbeaten Kansas City Chiefs, brought to you by NFL Insight. We have a variety of subjects to look at in this video preview, including the betting markets, the season so far for the two teams, some facets of the game that were important for the two sides to execute properly or that they need to work on, and I'll also take a look at how our exclusive trading statistics can help you in your trading. So let's look at the prices on the game first that are offered by the bookmakers and how they compare with our NFL Insight tissue price, which we have available for every game that we trade. Now I should say that as I'm recording this, the news that the Texans are starting yet another quarterback this Sunday has just come through. The new man will be Case Keenum, and it will be his first NFL start after spending a year on the Texans practice squad. So bear that in mind when looking at the prices. Given that news, I would expect to see the books push the price on the Chiefs over the 6.5 premium that you are paying at the moment to side with them. You can also see on the chart that we have calculated a percentage for all the likely types of scoring, with the Chiefs around a 6-4 chance to score with a TD as the first points in the game. As with all our work that gives you an idea of the true price in the market, and I certainly wouldn't be rushing to take the 5-4 or 11-8 that is available from the odds makers at the moment on the Chiefs touchdown being the first points. All of these prices are available via our trading sheet so that you can compare a real price based on hundreds of similar games with what you're being offered in the marketplace. If you like, this is your own tissue in your hands, and they should prove incredibly useful if you are betting or trading on the game. Plus, we have now added sheets which give you an accurate guide to what sort of prices you should be expecting given the time or score in the game for either side. It's a sort of sliding tissue, if you like, and one which is dynamic and works within the game. Moving on, let's take a look at the prices that are on offer on the Matchbook Exchange. Start with the money line. The Chiefs are 1.39 favourites here, and that's probably what you would expect from a side that is 6-0 and facing a team that's lost its last 4 games on the bounce, as the Texans have. On the handicap, the Chiefs are asked to give away 6.5 points, but just bear in mind what I said earlier about the team use from the Texans, and I'd expect that price on the Chiefs to shorten on that 6.5 line, or possibly the line to move and to go to maybe 7.5 or 8 points. Finally, with Matchbook, we take a look at the match points line. That's set at 40. The Chiefs have a solid D this year, conceding just 65 points, which is top in the NFL, whilst they average scoring about 25 points per game. Houston, on the other hand, have shipped points and only average 17 points per game scoring. It's a tricky line to decipher, this one, and I can't say that with the Texans quarterback woes it would be one that I'd be keen to get involved in. I think it's one of those lines that's designed to draw you in. All of the 6 Chiefs games though have gone over the line this year, and maybe that 40 could just possibly be a little bit low. Let's just reflect on some past meetings here between the two teams. Since 2001 we've had 5 games. Houston lead the series 3-2, and the last meeting was a real shootout, 35-31. I'd be surprised if we get a game like that on Sunday, but it would be a good one if we did. Houston, well, their season has gone into reverse. They're in turmoil. They've lost their last 4 games after starting pretty well in the season, going 2-0 as everybody expected. They thought they'd be one of the better teams this year, but they're in turmoil, and they've been particularly poor. I think this was a turning point in their season when they blew a 17-point lead in week 4 at home to the Seahawks. That has really seemed to have affected their confidence. Kansas City, well, there's only one word to describe them. That's transformation. They're 6-0. 3 of those wins have come at Arrowhead, at their home stadium, and it is an amazing transformation this season under the tutelage of new head coach Andy Reid, of course, who came from the Eagles last year. The question remains what they've beaten, but 6-0 is a phenomenal record this year, from coming from 2-14 last year, and their defence, of which I'll speak a little bit more later, has really got them into that position. So let's take a look at 5 factors for each team now, which will influence their approach to the game and areas of the game that they've got to get right. We'll take the Texans first. There are numerous facets of the game that are not firing for the Texans. I wrote down several of them, but here's the first. Their red zone defence. Take a listen to this statistic. 16 possessions in the red zone and 13 touchdowns allowed. Not going to win too many games if you keep shipping TDs at that rate. The Texans are dead last in the NFL in red zone defence. And I probably attribute a lot of that to Wade Phillips' man coverage. It just doesn't seem to be working. Guys like Ed Reed have yet to step up and make a sudden impact into the game when it counts. And last week, JJ Watt and Brian Cushing, who have been a sack machine, certainly JJ Watt has, they couldn't record a single sack against a team like the Rams, who have conceded 13 so far this season. If you've got that sort of problem, things are getting pretty serious. Cushing admitted as much and saying the situation is dire. I just wish the rest of the defence could promise to do better and admit that as well, because even if they don't, a team that I would say has only a steady offence like the Chiefs will be able to put points on them. Head coach Gary Kubiak, he's got to take his share of the blame as well. I think his play calling is terribly predictable, and even with Owen Daniels, you have to say this is still one of the most talented teams in the league on offence. They've got good skilled players at lots of the positions. And I don't think Kubiak really knows what to do with his players, and that seems to have undone and unbalanced the entire offence. And there were numerous examples against the Rams last Sunday of that happening. Probably the worst was the same old play he drew up when the Rams had gifted the Texans a second chance on a 4th and short. Drew up the same old tight end play. Yates, who had was in for the injured Matt Schaub, failed to look off the safety, and a 98-yard pick six was the result. But the fault of that was the same old tired play that Kubiak sent in. It's probably a tough situation for Kubiak, since all of his quarterbacks seem to be struggling psychologically, and of course we've got a new one again starting on Sunday, although he starts with a blank sheet. Neither of the two previous quarterbacks, TJ Yates or Matt Schaub, could run the ball, and Andre Johnson was who's their premier wide receiver, is just sent on simple crossing routes that are easy to cover. He's not even throwing him the deep ball, and that makes it hard to move the chains. Quite frankly, apart from those two things, they've been killing themselves on offence in a variety of other ways via penalties, third downs and turnovers. All of those areas really do need some looking at. On top of that lot, of course, they now start with a quarterback who is making his first start, and against a team that is 6-0. I talk, of course, as we did before, with Case Keenum. He'll just be the second quarterback in NFL history to make his first career start against an undefeated team that's 6-0 or better. And he joins Christian Ponder, whatever happened to him, who lost to the 6-0 Packers back in 2011 as the second statistic there. I'll mention some statistics of what he'll be facing later, but this is a tough ask for Keenum in his first start. Keenum was, of course, for those of you who've not heard of him, was a record-setting quarterback at the University of Houston. He spent last year on the practice squad at the Texans, and he joined the Texans as an undrafted free agent. He'll be facing a Kansas City team that leads the league with 31 sacks, so we better watch out on Sunday. And of course, he'll be playing at Arrowhead Stadium, which has set a Guinness World Record now for the loudest outdoor sports stadium, where the crowd reached 137.5 decibels, and that could create further hindrance for Keenum. One thing that Keenum will have, though, is one of the leading rushers in the AFC, in Arian Foster in the backfield for him. Arian Foster's run for 341 yards in the past 3 games, and that pushes his season total to a conference best 531. And this may be an area that the Texans can exploit against a Broncos defence that has already given up 696 yards on the ground at an average of 5.1 yards per attempt. Getting a running game going would help ease Keenum into the game and get those chains moving for the Texans. So that's the Texans. What about the 6-0 Chiefs? Well, it may seem strange to criticise a team that is undefeated, but their offence does need to improve in nearly every facet of the game. Kansas City is behind. They're really behind the curve on offence. The offensive line is often manhandled in pass protection and struggles to create space in the interior run game. The wide receivers, well, they show a lack of ability to separate, and when they do, quarterback Alex Smith is consistently throwing the ball too high for them. I'll have more on Smith in a moment. Jamal Charles has been the lone bright spot on the Kansas City offense, but one has to wonder, with the use he's getting, if and when the wheels will come off. Can Charles sustain the heavy use if the Chiefs are to make a deep playoff run? I think that Kansas City also need to get rookie running back Knal Davis involved and on track soon. Someone needs to step up from the receiving core as well. Outside of Dwayne Bowe, the entirety of the Kansas City receiving core combined for 4 receptions on 10 targets for 24 yards and a fumble against the Raiders, in a game where the Chiefs had 10 sacks, 4 forced turnovers and held their opponents to 7 points. The game wasn't firmly decided until late in the fourth quarter. The Texans, while their record may not indicate it, are a much tougher team. The Texans have the 7th best yardage offence in the NFL, and on defence they are even allowing less yardage per game than the vaunted Chiefs defence. Kansas City must be more efficient on third down and in the red zone. The Chiefs come away with punts and field goals far too often for a defence of this calibre. The defence and special team units are scoring 45% of the team's points total, a number that simply isn't sustainable long term. The Chiefs currently own the best defence in football and have playmakers in every unit. Perhaps the one garnering the least attention is the D-line, but it's the disruptive powers that you should really look at. The Chiefs have had the most disruptive defence this season, leading the NFL in sacks with 30, batted passes which is 10, interceptions they've had 10 of those, and overall pass breakups in 44 occasions. This has led to the lowest opponent's total quarterback rating this season, and that's quite an ordeal for any quarterback to face, let alone one in his first NFL start. I mentioned Jamal Charles earlier on. He's second in the league with 129.2 scrimmage yards per game behind Philadelphia's LaShawn McCoy, and he has accounted for 7 of Kansas City's 12 offensive TDs. Might be something that points to look out for there in the touchdown scorer markets, although I'm sure it'll be heavily odds on. He was leaned on heavily versus the Raiders, recording 128 of the team's 216 total yards, and he'll be the linchpin of the Chiefs' attack again on Sunday. Houston has one of the most dominant defensive linemen in the NFL in J.J. Watt. In Week 6, the St. Louis Rams game, they planned for Watt by running away from him to substantial success. For Kansas City, I'd recommend a different strategy. The Rams don't have a running back capable of outrunning Watt. The Chiefs do in Charles. Kansas City should run power to Watt's side, use tight end Sean McGrath and an offensive tackle to double up on the blocking on Watt and tire him out early, throw in a counter or two to take advantage of Watt's high motor and get him to over-pursue. That tactic will serve a dual purpose. 1, it helps negate one of the top pass rushers in the league, and 2, it helps Kansas City set up play action. With Kansas City's fledgling passing game struggling, this will put in a more actionable position on third down, where the Chiefs are the 6th worst team in the league in converting. The Texans present Kansas City's toughest challenge thus far this season. It might not look like it with a team that's lost the last 4 games, but I just don't want to write the Texans off too soon. For the Chiefs to succeed, they will need to get better on third down, turn more of their field goals into touchdowns, and neutralise a highly effective Houston running attack. I said earlier that I'd return to Alex Smith, and first of all, I'm never really sure about his ability under pressure. He was pressured on 20 dropbacks against the Raiders and completed only 3 attempts for 33 yards, and his completion percentage overall when he's under pressure is just 39.4%. He's far more a game managing quarterback, and his poor passing statistics can pile the pressure on Charles in the running game. I feel that Smith's performance so far, and to a certain extent that of the Chiefs' offence, has been masked by their excellent defence. Field position is a facet of the game that's often overlooked, but the defence of the Chiefs has allowed them to have the best average starting position in the entire NFL. Another advantage for what so far has been a rather moribund offence. Their average starting position for the offence is their own 36-yard line. So once again, you see how important their defence is and how this has masked some of their offensive inefficiencies. The question is, can a Texans team that looks moribund and fragile at the moment take advantage? I mentioned at the top of the show our exclusive trading stat sheets, and these have lots of information about how sides have responded in certain situations before and how often they go on to win a game in certain situations. These give you a guideline and a price to compare with what is on offer at the bookmakers at that particular time in the market. Here you can see if the game were to be tied at half time, the Chiefs would have a 67% chance, or around 1 to 2 chance, that they go on and win the game. The Texans, in a similar situation, should be priced at around 2 to 1 for a similar situation. We also calculate chances and prices for certain situations happening in the game, and you can see 2 examples here. And the one I'm going to pick out is that there's around a 12% chance that Kansas City Chiefs can take a 14-0 lead. These statistics and prices are calculated from analysing hundreds of similar games with the same structure, and we've now extended them further to have a working spreadsheet which will calculate a tissue price for both teams based on the match situation and the time elapsed and the margin within the game at that particular time. That will calculate a tissue price for both teams based on the match situation and time elapsed. And these are proving invaluable in our trading room on Sunday nights, in that we have a live price to judge against the market and how much love almost there is for certain teams in the market, a valuable tool to evaluate prices at an instant. The statistics that I've shown in this video preview are just a small taster of the profusion of data that we have available in the sheets, which are exclusive to NFL Insight and via the live updates which are available in our trading room on Sunday nights, making us able to assess match situation and the odds available at an instant. These match previews, which I hope you're enjoying this season, are just a small part of what we do at NFL Insight, and we'd love you to subscribe to NFL Insight on our YouTube TV channel as well, where you'll be able to keep up with all the latest previews and get notified of each time we put a new preview up. I'll be back soon with further match previews, which we're looking to extend throughout the season, all the big games in the NFL. And make sure you also check out our betting focused previews on our website, which is www.betting-insight.com, where we'll look at all the best opportunities from a betting angle on the game once we've taken into all the tactical factors which I've mentioned in this preview. We'd love you to come and get involved with us at NFL Insight, where you'll find lots of NFL previews, statistics, trading views and betting advice. NFL Insight, we hope, is at the forefront of a new way of looking at and betting on the NFL, and we'll see you again soon for yet another NFL Insight Big Match Preview.